Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Happy New Year to you. It's our first live webinar of 2023. And my name's Lynn Jangier, and I'm delighted that you've joined us today. What we'll do is, I think we're still waiting for a couple of people to come in. So we'll give them a couple of minutes, if that's all right. And I'll go over some housekeeping bits and pieces before we get started. So we're going to have a live Q&A session as the webinar progresses. What I will do is I will answer all of the questions at the end, if that's okay. We will also have a short survey, and it's just to help us to find out what you would like the next topic of the webinar to be. So we'll run that at the end. And what I will say is, this is my first time delivering a webinar, so I do have Natalie on hand in case we have any hitches, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So I hope you've had a lovely Christmas holiday, and we're all back into work now, aren't we? Full time. That's us. We're back for January, and here we go. So I think what I'll do, get started. I think couple of people might join us, but I'm here to talk to you today on the rising importance of aesthetics in cable installations. Can you see that presentation okay? Has that come over all right? If you could pop it in the chat box, that would be great. I'll just make that live just now. So feel free to say hello and chat to me as we go through. Okay, so I'm assuming that you can see the presentation at the moment. So the reason that I'm delivering this webinar today is my role here. I am Global Commercial Director at LINIAN, and we are often asked by installers and if we can help them to make their jobs look a little nicer, a little neater. And if you've been following LINIAN for a little while, about how we can help also to comply with the legislation and the recommendations of the 18th edition, especially in regard to the premature collapse of cables. So the presentation today will cover off some of these topics. But if we move on to the first slide, for those who are new to LINIAN, LINIAN is a very proud family business. So if you don't know already, I am the Lynn in LINIAN, and it's a business that was established here in Glasgow in 2006 by our current directors, Wes and Jean, or as I like to call them, Mum and Dad. And it was named after their two children, Lynn and Ian. That's where the brand came from. So we are brother and sister, and we joined the business around about August 2015. We are the creators of the first single component 18th edition fire rated cable clip. If you've seen it, the fire clip literally is the name of the range. And we brought it out because we have experience and know that these are the fastest, safest and simplest ways to fit cables, conduit and trunking. They're compact and they're versatile, which is important to you if you're out and about and you have to have lots of stock in vans and things like that. And they can be used across a number of substrates. So it makes every job neater, tidier, more effective. What they're designed to do is to save time, money, and more importantly, lives, which we'll speak about in a wee bit as well. LINIAN is fast becoming the industry standard. And for those of you who have been following our journey since the very start, you will see that especially over the last couple of years, you've never been able to find LINIAN products in more places than you can now. So a little bit about me. So as I said, I'm Global Commercial Director here at LINIAN. I look after all of our customers, and that includes installers, wholesalers, and all of our different market channels here in the UK and overseas. My background is that my brother and I, Ian, we actually grew up in an electrical wholesalers, and not a lot of people know that. So our parents and our grandparents had an electrical wholesaler here in Glasgow. And quite often you would find Ian and I in talking to project managers when we were as young as 7 and 8. And that's where most of our experience came from. And we feel it's what qualifies us, to be honest, in these types of subjects and topics within the market. So I joined LINIAN in 2015. I worked in major account management, operations and sales for across a number of different sectors. So I've worked within electrical wholesaling, I've worked within construction in general, I've worked within the whisky industry in manufacturing, and I've worked in plant hire as well. So there's not really a part of the construction site that I haven't been on. So that's just give you a bit of background about me. The importance of aesthetics in cable installations, you'll know yourself, it's never been a bigger topic of discussion. You see it on LinkedIn, you see it on Instagram, Twitter, all sorts of places. So we see it commonly within the sales and technical teams, especially with the upturn in electric vehicle charging with the government grants and things. So we've seen a huge rise in installs. What this means is that in people's homes, there are more commercial type products being used in traditional type installations. So when you go to a customer's house to put an EV charger in, it's big chunky SW cables in there, and a lot of customers don't really want to see those types of cables in their house. You know, they're used to them being buried or behind the fabric of the walls and things, so they don't really want to see them. So there's more awareness out there of electrical installations than ever. So our industry is very topical at the moment, and we're also seeing it through the introduction of smart homes. So I don't know if you've seen Art of Smart, companies like that, Rich Heppel on Instagram and LinkedIn. He's built a phenomenal business, and we are great admirers of his brand and his business, to be honest with you. So what that means though, why we need, why the importance of aesthetics in these types of installations is more important than ever, is that we are seeing more and more chunkier hardware types appear in people's homes and workplaces. As smart technology gains momentum, domestic installations gain a higher level of scrutiny. Of course they do. Clients and homeowners are looking at projects now, not just from installers, but design consultants and architects, and asking, how can we make that look nicer? How can we hide it? How can we have it? How can we make a feature of it? So hopefully we'll be able to show you a wee bit about that later as well. Industrial chic, again, is everywhere. Pretty much every coffee shop that you go into, when you look up, you'll see exposed M&E services. It's more fashionable, and not just in new builds, but also in refurbishments. So again, a much bigger audience who are going to scrutinise how we are doing things, how we are installing cables, and how we are making them look nice. I know that in my family, maybe in yours too, I spend my life looking upwards. I've fallen over shopping trolleys and people's children because I'm so obsessed about how people are running their cables and their services up above. So concealed services, this is topical. Again, when we go out to see clients or we go to our trade shows and things, we need to remember that there is a reason for clauses in electrical specifications because of this. So what we are told time and time again is, I don't need to worry about that because it's behind the plasterboard. So the clause in the specification is, the contractor shall ensure all concealed services are available for inspection by the consulting engineer or client prior to being enclosed in cavities and voids. Now, I'm not an electrician, but even when I look at that, I don't think that that's right. I don't think it looks nice, and I don't think it looks as if you're leaving a good job. So if I'm a customer, if I'm someone who is not in our industry looking at that, good aesthetics to me mean a good job, literally. So why are cable aesthetics important? Your client expects it. There's no doubt about it. They've asked you to get in and do a job for them. Now, if you are one of the more, and we cover it a wee bit further down, it's one of the bullet points here, but if you are one of the more tech savvy installers and you are on Instagram and you're on LinkedIn and all these different platforms, what you're doing is essentially creating a shopping window for customers to look at your work. So where we would maybe go and have a look in the window at H&M or somewhere else, they're doing exactly the same with you. So they see your jobs, your pride and joy, how you're leaving your work, and that's what they basically buy your services based on. Also, your technical ability, the fact that you're maybe a member of organisations, NAPA, EC, all these kind of things. But essentially they're shopping to get the best job, especially as these more industrial cables are coming into their home. So it's a great opportunity for you to get your name out there. And what are they going to do if you come and do a great job for them? They're going to recommend, aren't they? And they're going to see that you want to do the best job for them and for yourself. Architectural and interior design. We are seeing more and more clients come to us and saying, look, we've got phenomenal buildings, £1 million mansions, £3 million mansions, houses, all sorts of places. And again, these cables that are coming into the house, how do we hide them? How do we make them part of the design feature? And we've got a couple of slides later on which shows you some examples of that. And what LINIAN tried to do is offer products that will either blend in, hide them, or allow you to make a feature. And it might not be to everybody's taste, but if the client likes it and they go ahead with it, then it leaves them pretty happy, doesn't it? Peace of mind for clients and engineers. Again, when you do one good job, most of the time that you will get a referral for another contract or another project. And that's what LINIAN are here to help you to do. So with our types of products, it shows the clients and the engineers that you're thinking ahead. It's not just that it looks good, but they know that it's going to tick all of the boxes on their project. For again, just to reinforce the point, it's everywhere just now. There are all sorts of hashtags on the internet where people are doing their best job. There's competitions about how well can they do it. People have never been more critical of each other's work either. We've seen that. So for us, good aesthetics equals a good job mindset. How can we improve cable aesthetics? At LINIAN, it's very simple. Lose the screws. We don't need them. We can help you to make almost invisible fixings to assist in drawing less attention to SW installs, for example. This is a great image that was shared by one of our customers at Giffords Electrical, and I believe it's running down a fence post. It's an SWA running down a fence post. If you can see the clips there, it's because we've zoomed right in to show you them. But from a wee bit of a distance back, you can't see the clips there. And what we are basically allowing you to do for the customer is to hide that. So part of the brief here was that when they were having garden parties, nobody wanted to see big, ugly, chunky cables or cleats. So it basically becomes invisible and the eye casts over them. We're seeing them in installations, EV chargers I've touched on, garages, outbuildings, garden rooms, and in external lighting and power. So again, it's not just what LINIAN's known as for fire alarm cables and all of the boxes that we tick there in regards to premature collapse, but a major selling point for you as a contractor or a designer is to the client and the homeowner that you can do a great job, a compliant job, and that it will look better, it will look a lot nicer. Another feature that the LINIAN super clips offer is that we can lose the screws on conduit too. Well, that's quicker for you, which is great. You don't have to worry about finding all those little screws or dropping them. Again, I'm not an installer. It's just feedback that I've had about why these products are so great. The fixings on the conduit can be invisible too. So what we've got here is a client who has a lovely copper light fixing there outside, light fitted outside. They've used the black conduit, very trendy, black and copper. We know that everybody's been going mad for that. But what you can see here is they've made a real feature out of it because the conduit looks as if it's floating. You've got no saddles, no screws protruding at the sides. And again, people look at it and their eye isn't immediately drawn to the chunky fixings. It just looks nice. It looks like it's supposed to be there, not that someone's just stuck it there, to be honest with you. Again, for LINIAN and for yourselves, it's another sellable point to clients that you can make the installation a really nice feature. One of the best bits about LINIAN, we're told, apart from everything else, but we're told that you can match the colour of the fixings to whatever you're trying to fix. So these images show not only can the products go into different substrates, but it shows you here you can get a nice black SWA as hidden as possible using our black clips or a conduit. And also on the right hand side, we do them in galvanised as well. So the installation might not be typically to your taste, or it might be, but in this particular project, the customer had a real issue because they had to tuck the conduit as close into the step as they could get. They couldn't do that with traditional saddles either, just because of the amount of space that they took up. But what happened was, they were able to get the conduit flush and the super clips took it in even neater. No screws sticking out, and they matched the colour of the conduit. So the client was very, very happy. It was just as unobtrusive as possible. Some of our clients choose to feature the services. They want to make a feature out of this. So again, it's just another couple of images where it shows the image on the left-hand side is a black light fitting with a white conduit. And the reason for that is if you look at the window on the left-hand side, the windows are black, the frames are black where the panes are, and at the top there you've got the nice feature of the stone, and that's a kind of lighter white cream colour. So what the end client wanted was that the eye wouldn't be drawn away from the line where the window finished, so it's all black and then the white basically leads your eye up the conduit there. You can see a LINIAN super clip at the bottom, keeping that in nicely and hidden, and you don't have the screws on either side as well. On the right hand side, there's a black and white theme going on here. Again, very popular, monochrome. It seems to be everywhere if you follow Instagram. And although you can't see very closely there, the clips, that's the reason for that image, is because it looks like the conduit is essentially floating. Saving you time, saving you money, but look how great it looks. Industrial chic, we spoke about a little bit here. So these are actually, to be honest with you, a few of my favourite images, and they're just our traditional products, but it's why I like them so much. So the client here wanted to strip out a lot of containment. You can see here they didn't have a lot of space, and they were able to directly clip the cable to the substrate using the fire clip range here. The great thing about it is they were able to clip 2 cables using 1 clip, so they didn't have to do 2 holes. They were able just to do it with 1 hole. But it shows you here how versatile the LINIAN clips actually are, because there's some nice bends going on there, and it shows you that that even with the LINIAN clips, you can still achieve a nice finish, a nice tidy finish. We're seeing it more. We're seeing the clips being used more in places like car parks and even within the underground system in London as well. On the right-hand side, again, it's just another example of how cables clipped directly to the substrate, not relevant for every application, but when you do have to do it, it can still look nice and neat and tidy. There's no screws coming out. You don't have to use plugs also. So yeah, quick, nice and easy. That's what we're about here. This is fab. If you've been following LinkedIn, we were just included in the most recent edition of Professional Electrician magazine. So there's a review in there by Steve Hewish, and he talks in depth about LINIAN, and it's actually great because it talks about the real journey that LINIAN's had as a business as well. So when we first came to the market, there were a lot of people that could instantly see the benefit of LINIAN, and they loved it, and they knew it was quick and it was a great product and it was going to do everything that they needed to do. By his own admission, Steve thought it was a bit of a gimmicky product, but when he used them, he really realises the value that these products have got to offer. And what he basically says, it's almost like they're not there. So again, aesthetics, a great job being left. And if you read the article, you can find it in PE and Installer magazine online. You can find it on our LinkedIn. It talks about all of the aesthetic features of LINIAN, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So I won't go into it too much just because it's tiny, but also you'll be able to read it in your own time as well. But it's great because it's completely independent. We didn't ask for this review to be done or anything, but it really summarises in his own words how great the products are. Again, you can see here on the right-hand side as part of the article what a traditional installation would look like with your conduit saddles versus on the left-hand side what it looks like with LINIAN. And to be honest, it's obvious, isn't it? It just looks so much nicer and so much neater and quicker. So the options that are available through LINIAN, the product range continues to expand. So we have our tagline is that we always design products with installers in mind. We just want to make jobs easier. That's essentially what we want to do. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to make a job where it looks great and you comply. So the fire clip range, again, all small diameter cables. They're in red here, but they do come in a variety of different colours, which we'll cover. The super clips will do your EV cables, and they will also do conduits, and larger diameter cables are bunches. Your twin and earth clips, now I'll speak a wee bit more about that, but twin and earth clips were never really something that LINIAN were going to look at, and I'll explain a wee bit about that. We've got a range for coaxial, And we've got our baby of the group, the nano clips, and they're called nanos because if you haven't seen one yet, they're absolutely tiny, and that's for small diameter cables like fibre or induction heating loop cables. So this is information that is readily available in our catalogue or online. So the great thing about the products are that they have tensile load, they've been tested. Fire clips, 24 kilos. So what does that look like in real time? A bag of cement, and 44 kilos, so double that for your super clips designed for your conduits and your cables. It tells you a little bit there about what they can be used for. So the fire clips, single and double cables, anchor fixings for wire. That's something that we're often asked about as well, just because it's nice and sleek and neat when you're putting in your suspension wire as well. And probably one of the most important factors about LINIAN is that they are corrosion resistant and UV stable. So we've spoken a lot about external applications for our products, and the great thing about them being UV stable is they don't fade, they don't corrode, they don't rust like the other products that are traditionally in the market. So when you do an installation on the outside of a building and you go back in 2 or 3 years' time, the sun hasn't gotten to them, they shouldn't have faded, and they've got a corrosion protection on them, 1,000-hour salt spray, undergo testing for that. So the super clips is our strongest single component fixing. They've also got a lot of the same great features as the fire clips, but again, they can be used also with stainless steel cable ties, and you can use them for metal conduit and PVC conduit. The great thing about using them with the PVC conduit is the fact that the closed loop head on the super clips, if the conduit was to fail, the super clip would still maintain the cables so that they are not liable to collapse, so they won't collapse prematurely in the event of a fire as well. So that's a really important feature about the products themselves. Twin and earth clip. So LINIAN, as I said, it was never kind of in our aspirations to bring out a twin and earth clip. When we very first went to a lot of the trade shows, people would say, oh, you don't need to do an earth and metal clips and things like that. It's changed, and it's changed a lot. And LINIAN have brought this out because we know that there are alternatives on the market. You get metal nail-in clips, but to be honest with you, the metal nail-in clips are not a full fixing. They're not called a fixing. They're called a metal nail-in clip. So what we've created is a fixing that you get just a secure finish and aesthetic, to be honest with you, as you would with all of our other range of products as well. We have a range for for CCTV, AV and satellite TV installations. We are seeing people moving away from coaxial, but there is a range there if you've got to go and do a retrofit or if that's what the client is looking for. Our patented design, a little bit about that. So the closed head that you will see on all LINIAN clips is patented, and it means that that will secure the cable. So if there's any tension on the wire, the clip can't pop open and release the cable. So that's what that's designed to do. The barbed legs are a feature. They expand in the hole and they grip the substrate. So when you compress the legs and it goes into the hole, they expand, and it means that they can't come back out. The great thing about all of our products is that you don't need additional screws, plugs, washers, or also additional drill holes. And the legs are strong but flexible, so they won't snap under pressure. And they work with substrates including brick, concrete, wood, and even plasterboard. So we get asked that quite a lot as well. You would just drop down your drill size potentially for plasterboard and your pull-out would be reduced, but we do have our certification there for you if that's an installation that you've got. Twin and earth, we're always asked if you can use in wood. You can use all of our clips in wood. You do still have to drill the hole first though. The products are easy to install, super easy to install. That's why we designed them. So you drill a hole, you wrap your clip around the cable, and you squeeze the legs together and push them into the hole. With our super clips, you probably would need to use, or you should use, a soft hammer just to gently tap the product home and make sure that you get a secure fixing. LINIAN clips designed to match cables. So again, what we're here to talk about today is aesthetics. So gone are the days where you had to have a silver clip or a galvanized clip with a black cable or a red one with a white cable. At LINIAN, we do coat our products in a variety of different colours. Some standard off the shelf, black, white, red, grey. But you can see here we do bespoke colours for different types of installations for temporary power and lighting. We've got Cat 5, Cat 6 and data cables, and we've got 110 volt temporary power and lighting as well. There is a colour chart. I don't know if it was on the next slide, sorry. There's a colour chart within our catalogue, and basically we can quote clips to any RAL colour, dependent on volume, of course, but if that was something that you had for a project, we did see it in a cathedral in Edinburgh a number of years ago. It was a specific brown RAL colour for a cable, and they needed specific brown clips to suit that, to be invisible along the beams. So that's something that we can look at as well, but all you have to do is get in touch with the sales team and they can guide you through that process. So just to cover how we can help, no need for unsightly screws, plastic plugs or cleats. Plastic plugs, again, for us is coming up because of the single-use plastics. We've recently switched to sustainable packaging as well. We might do a webinar on that, to be honest with you. But what we are trying to do is eliminate the use of plastics, single-use plastics, for a number of reasons in installations like this, fire and for the environment. It also just looks a lot better when you use LINIAN. There's a variety of sizes available to perfectly fit the cable or the conduit. So the clips wrap round nicely around your cable. They're not loose. You don't have to nudge them and tap them and things like you would normally do. Simply use your level, drill your holes, clips around the cables, and away you go. The clips, again, are available in any RAL colour to blend in with the cable or the conduit. And again, just to reinforce, they are UV stable and they do have a corrosion resistant coating for a lasting fix. So that's what we want to be able to give you, is peace of mind that when you install these, that they're going to continue to look nice for your client for a long time. To be honest, that's me at the end of the presentation. I've got a couple of questions here that I'm happy to have a wee look at. If you bear with me 2 wee seconds, I'll just pop over and go to the chat box.